Bless up, ABR family and viewers. Welcome back to the channel. It's your girl, Isabel Rose. And in this one, Dennis Chung appointment at FID saga continues, where we have the PSOJ questioning the government, demanding transparency over the Office of Services Commission's secrecy in the FID saga. Stay tuned for the details at hand. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.
Running one ad, right? And then 2 months later, changing major qualifications for the position and running another ad. That does not constitute a robust search. That does sound like that was a serious search and they were seriously looking for people with law enforcement experience or experience in dealing with financial crime. The other legitimate question is how the FID with Dennis Chung at its head is going to deal with the Integrity Commission report on the statutory declarations of Prime Minister Andrew Holness. This is because when the Integrity Commission report first came out, Mr. Chung wasn't too impressed with the report, or at least some parts of it, right? Nationwide reported in September 2024 that Mr. Chung was questioning some of the claims in the report. He said the basis of the conclusions was dubious. So this brings up now the question of bias and whether Mr. Chung could be said to be biased if he now has to look at the issue of the Integrity Commission report. There are two types of bias that the law talks about, what is called actual bias and apparent bias. Now, actual bias is when it can be proven that the person is biased. That's usually very hard to do, so people usually focus on the other type of bias, which is called apparent bias. The courts have said that the test for apparent bias is whether the fair-minded and informed observer, having considered the facts, would conclude that there was a real possibility that the tribunal was biased. In other words, if somebody out a road, we have sense, look upon the situation and say, look like saying could have biased for true, that's apparent bias. So now, if you heard that Mr. Chung had raised concerns about the Integrity Commission report, then you heard that he's heading an agency that the very same Integrity Commission had asked to look at the very same report, would you say to yourself there's a real possibility here that he could be biased in his approach? And I think any reasonable person would have to say, yes, that is a real possibility. It's nothing personal. It's nothing against his character. It's just that when you look at the test, you would look at it and say there's a real possibility there that he could be biased.
So now, ABR family and viewers, it has been approximately a month since Dennis Chung take up this appointment at the FID. And all of a sudden, after a month, PSOJ has found their voice. And so we have the president, who goes by the name of Matriciaga, coming out and saying that it is more than reasonable for Jamaicans to know why the law enforcement requirement for the Financial Investigation Division's top job was dropped after government body claimed the information is private. He's therefore calling on Andrew Holness and his cabinet to intervene to support the release of the information and ensure that public bodies respect Jamaicans' constitutional right to information and the need for scrutiny of official decisions. If a minimum requirement was changed for a position, would it be reasonable, you think, that the country know what led to that change at the very least? He disclosed that lobby groups has written to the Office of the Services Commission seeking clarity on the appointment process to remove the mystery around it. But to no avail, so they're not giving the information any at all. And let me interject here a bit. We know that the Financial Investigations Divisions is basically under the portfolio of a Ministry of Finance. So, is it safe for me to ask this question? Did the Minister of Finance, Favour Williams, give the directive through such man to have these criteria removed? It begs to question. Because if you can remember, it was the very same Minister of Finance who, when there were changes to a job criteria at the National Land Agency. They removed a very important criteria to give someone the job. And they had to seek permission from the Ministry of Finance before removing that mandatory requirement for the senior post, right? And the ministry ultimately blocked the attempt after an audit by its corporate management and establishment branch. And now she's coming to say, since last May, that the recruitment process was transparent for Dennis Chung. But yet still, they're preventing others from getting the information, and they're unwilling to tell who gave the directive to move the law enforcement criteria. However, Mitri Siaga says he continues to support Chung's appointment, but emphasized that the PSOJ just want to make sure that the process was handled completely as it should have been. He quoted, "I don't think there's any mystery around it. I think there are good reasons, but sometimes people are afraid to speak to the press. I think that they should be as transparent as possible without disrupting anybody's privacy." What is he saying? A whole bunch of going around and coming around, a whole lot of nothing. Either you're for it or you're against it. You're calling for transparency, but then again you're saying that people are afraid to speak to the press. Really? When they offer themselves to be public servants, how can they be afraid to speak to the press? That don't make no sense there, so. And then again, why is it so much that our country seems to be like it's private sector run the country more than even the government itself? We don't need these people in private sector to be the sole dictator, it seems, in everything that the government does. It's like, to me, at the private sector of the handle in the country than even the government. What we need this man here so to come and talking all kind of nonsense here so. He's saying transparency, and then again he's saying that people are afraid to speak to the press. That don't make no sense to me. We also have Daniel Archer, the principal director of the National Integrity Action, saying that access to information is not a luxury. It is a democratic right. Efforts to suppress it, particularly in matters of public interest, are not isolated missteps. They are symptoms of creeping authoritarianism. How me fi trust you and me not certain what you are do behind curtain. She quoted lyrics from recording artist Chronics. This is the question now echoing across the public sphere. Without openness, confidence collapses, not just in individuals, but in the systems meant to protect the public good. When both government and oversight bodies conceal information on appointments linked to ongoing investigations, it marks a dangerous erosion of accountability. The Solicitor General Marlene Aldridge from the Attorney General's chambers responded to access to information requests on the Office Services Commission. She disclosed that public access to nearly all requested documents that could explain the actions of public officials involved in the process has been denied. When you hear that, all has been denied. She cited legal exemptions under sections 17BI and 22 of the Access to Information Act, which refer to breaches of confidence and disclosures of personal information, respectively. So then I will ask, will we ever get certain information as to why the powers that be who we elect to be open, to be transparent with us as the people who elect them, the people that they're working for? Will we ever get certain information when they're coming and speaking of the Access to Information Act, referencing breaches of confidence and disclosure of personal information? It does not seem so. ABR family and viewers, serious times ahead on the eve of the general election. You have to vote for the change that so desire. We have to get information because we the people elect them. Under the Constitution, we are privy to information. They're using our tax dollars to run the affairs of the country, and we are basically shut out because of our Access to Information Act. We're not able to get information on public officials who offer themselves to serve the people. What can go so? Maybe you wanna say in the comment section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. On the road to 30K and beyond. Help me to get there. Get this video to at least 7,000 likes. Stay tuned for more videos. Stay tuned for more updates. Big up on yourself. Happy Monday.